All right, with recent news that Mick Jagger is welcoming his 8th child at the age of 73, and Janet Jackson soon to welcome her first at the age of 50, both celebrities are among a growing trend. Here in Canada, the average age of moms has been steadily rising over the past few decades. There's a number of reasons behind that. Here to talk about both the benefits and the challenges of parenting past 40 is Sherry Cantar and Samantha Kemp-Jackson. Both had their children while in their 40s. And Joyce Engel, who is a professor of nursing at Brock University, she wrote her PhD on this topic. Welcome all of you to your morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce, I want to start with you. First two questions. Do we call it older parents? Do we call it, mature moms? What's the correct phraseology around this?
I think there's a lot of terminology, and that's part of the confusion. Older mothering, older mums is the term that I think recognizes the special role of mums.
Okay, so in the world of older moms, then, what are some of the reasons we're seeing behind this trend of becoming moms at a later age?
Well, part of the reason is because we can delay reproduction. That was a huge reason why reproduction was delayed in the first place. And we saw an increasing age of mums from the middle 1960s onwards. Another reason is that people are getting their education, they're establishing their career, and then there's the economic reality of not being able to necessarily buy homes or to be financially well enough off that you can afford children. And we know the high cost of childcare at this point.
StatsCan refers to us as a low fertility society.
Yes.
Sounds very serious and grave.
Well, essentially what it means is that we're not having enough children to replace the population.
All right, I want to get to our moms, at our older mothering moms. Both of you had children past the age of 40. And I'm curious about some of the benefits to that, and we can get into the challenges in just a second.
It's hard. Benefits are hard. I think a lot of it is you're certainly at a different stage in your life. So you've experienced a lot more at 40 than you have at, say, 25 or even 30. More settled, and you know sort of where you're going in life.
Sherry, these are your two kids here.
Yep, Ruby and Jonah.
And some of the challenges that you would be facing, and I'm going to guess that one of them has to do with community, because mothering is there's a sisterhood involved, right? But your friends would be at different ages and stages.
Well, it's very interesting, because a lot of my close friends that I've grown up with, their kids are all in university now or have graduated university. They're at a completely different time in their lives. But where my kids are in school now, and so I'm socializing with their parents.
Sometimes people in their 20s.
They're all a lot younger than me, and they don't realize that they actually have no idea sometimes that I'm that much older than them.
But it's to you then.
Yeah, it does make it hard though, because you feel like you're at a bit of a different stage than them outside of just parenting.
Sure. Different stages in your careers and
right.
Samantha, you're in a really great position to compare, because you had children in your 20s, and then you had children again in your 40s.
Yes, so I had my first child when I was 19. She's now 31. I had another child 18 years later. She's 13. And then I have identical twins who are 7. So I had the last two when I was 43.
And these are your kids? These are two of your
kids
here? Those
are my identical twin boys, Aubrey and Eric, yes.
Amazing. So then,
And those are my daughters, Miranda and Tassia.
Oh, they're beautiful girls.
Yes.
Now tell me, aside from siblings, which is a whole separate conversation.
Yes.
Tell us, you're in a position to compare. What was it like being a parent at a younger age versus, what you face now?
Well, I think it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other. So when you're younger, you have a lot more energy, and you don't think about a lot of things. You don't think about your mortality. You don't think about your finances and your career as much. So you have a lot of fun with your children. With my oldest daughter, we had a lot of fun together. We were more like sisters because there wasn't that much of a generation between us. Now, fast forward, 20 odd years, and with my youngest two, the twins, I'm a lot more tired. However, I'm in a better financial position, and I have a lot more maturity, and I let a lot of things slide. So I think, there's pros and cons to both.
Parenting takes energy. It doesn't matter how old you are, but
Absolutely.
you do have a lot more energy. At least I felt like I had a lot more energy in my 20s, than you do in your 40s. How does that play into parenting? And the amount of play you you actually do with your kids?
Well, I'm definitely a lot more tired, and what ends up happening is that you're going into a different stage of your life reproductively, so hormonally.
Sure.
But when you're dealing with a teenager, I have a 13-year-old, you're both at a hormonal stage in your life, and it's kind of crazy for everybody left in the...
For everybody else in the household.
Exactly.
So do you
yes.
have those conversations then, saying, listen, you're going through a hormonal swing, I'm going through a hormonal swing. Do you have those conversations?
Absolutely. I've said it to my daughter. I've said, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't deal right now.
What do you guys do about the girlfriend factor? Because as you mentioned, Sherry, when you're sitting around and you're talking with, your other female friends, some of you may be either heading into menopause or in that stage of life. You've got somebody in their 20s, they're not even near there.
Right. It's interesting because, I do think about that a lot because I am heading in that direction, and they're still sort of carefree and free, and I feel much more almost weighted down by that, change that is upon me. So it does make it different, and where they're ready to, go out and face the world, sometimes I feel like I rather just stay at home and hover under my covers.
I'm curious too about technology, because I imagine that people who are parenting in their 20s and their early 30s are a lot more tech savvy. They're used to social media. Parenting, in your 40s, this is something that you're less familiar with, but it's an active part of any kid's life.
Oh, my kids, I'm amazed at how tech savvy they are, more so.
Do you find it hard to keep up?
No, I don't know if I find it hard to keep up. I'm just constantly amazed at how they can figure things out on their own, where I have to sit down and really look at things. But they can just sit down and go, oh, here, let's do it like this.
There is a growing trend and a growing community of moms who are older mothering. What do you guys find in that community?
I find that there's a lot more support. So I think that, different from your experience in my community, I live here in Toronto, there are a lot of older moms. So with the moms group with my 13-year-old, I was 30, almost 38, and everybody there was around my age, 38 to 42, and that was their first child. So I think there was more of a propensity in, recent times for moms to wait a little bit longer, as you were saying.
And no matter what age you are, being a mom for the first time has huge stresses that go along with it. You need community in order to continue, in order
Absolutely.
to survive. All right, Samantha Kemp-Jackson and Sherry Cantor, Joyce Engel, thank you so much for being here. Such an interesting topic.